The burgundy suit couldn't hide the predator beneath. Kang Min-jae surveyed his restaurant empire from the mezzanine. Crystal chandeliers, red velvet booths, patrons who paid thousands for discretion and proximity to Seoul's most dangerous secret. Everything is controlled, everything is calculated. Until he saw her in the gilded hallway, shoulders shaking, composure shattered. Amara, his waitress, 8 months of elegant silence, broken. He'd watched her move like water through his world, invisible by choice, graceful by necessity. He should have ignored her tears. Emotions were liabilities, attachments were weaknesses. Instead, he descended the stairs. Amara, her name on his lips for the first time. She froze. What could make a monster show mercy? If you're not subscribed, you're gambling, because when another interesting story like this drops, subscribers get first access. Non-subscribers, you'll see everyone talking about it and have no idea what happened. Hit subscribe right now or spend next week on the outside looking in. Your choice. Choose wrong and you'll regret it. And don't forget to tell us where you're watching from and what time exactly are you watching this video. So what's going to be? She looked up, mascara streaking down her rich brown skin, eyes red-rimmed and desperate. "Mr. Kang, I apologize. I shouldn't have—" What happened? Not a request, a command that expected truth. Her breath hitched. The story broke from her in fractured pieces, accent thickening with emotion. Chidi, her baby brother, 19 years old, university student in Lagos, arrested 3 days ago, framed for a murder he didn't commit. The trial was a mockery, corrupt police, fabricated evidence, a judge who'd already accepted bribes. 10 days until execution. 10 days to say goodbye to the boy she'd raised after their parents died. But Amara couldn't go home. She'd come to Seoul 2 years ago with promises of legitimate work, only to discover the recruitment agency was a trafficking front. They'd taken her passport, said she owed $60,000 for processing fees and transportation costs. She'd been working it off ever since, sending what little remained to keep Chidi in school. Her visa had expired 18 months ago. If she tried to leave, they'd report her. She'd be deported, banned from re-entry, unable to help anyone. "I thought I had time," she whispered, voice breaking. "I thought I could save enough, get legal help, bring him here eventually. But time ran out." Min-jae had been watching her for 8 months, not the casual observation of an employer, but something deeper, more meticulous. He'd noticed everything, the way she made traditional Nigerian tea during breaks, the quiet dignity in her posture despite exhaustion, the sorrow she carried like a second skin. She moved through his restaurant with a grace that made her simultaneously invisible and unforgettable. He told himself it was nothing, told himself she was just another employee. He'd been lying to himself. A memory surfaced, himself at 17, watching his mother die because he couldn't afford her treatment. The helplessness had forged him into what he became, powerful enough that no one he cared about would ever be that vulnerable again. Except he'd stopped caring about anyone. Until her. "Names," he said quietly, methodically, the trafficking ring, every detail. She told him everything, Jung Hae-won's operation, the container warehouse at the docks, the threats, the impossible debt designed to never be repaid. Min-jae pulled out his phone, the first call in Korean, rapid and lethal, the second in Igbo. He'd learned it months ago, another thing he'd told himself meant nothing. Both conversations sounded less like negotiations and more like declarations of war. He ended the calls, met her stunned gaze. "Pack your things. You're coming with me." The docks at 3 a.m. belonged to a different Seoul, one where legitimate business ended and survival economics began. Sodium lights cast everything in sickly orange, illuminating shipping containers stacked like steel coffins. Amara sat in the back of Min Jae's black Mercedes, surrounded by 3 men who moved with military precision. But her attention fixed on the man beside her. Somewhere between his restaurant and this desolate stretch of concrete, Min Jae had transformed completely. Gone was the elegant restaurateur in the burgundy suit. He wore all black, tactical pants, fitted shirt that emphasized the violence coiled in his frame. A gun rested visibly at his hip. The businessman had disappeared, replaced by something older, something lethal. She'd known intellectually what he was. Souls whispered rumors, the way powerful men deferred to him, the fear behind their respect. Seeing it manifested in Kevlar and cold eyes was something else entirely. "Stay here," he said, his hand briefly touching her knee. The gesture might have been reassuring if his expression wasn't carved from stone. Jung Hae-won's operation occupied a warehouse wedged between rusting containers. Through grimy windows, she could see men counting money, smoke hanging thick in air that smelled of desperation and casual cruelty. Min Jae approached alone, carrying a metal briefcase. The men looked up, postures shifting from relaxed to alert in seconds. Jung Hae-won stood, mid-50s, expensive watch, cheap soul. "We're closed. Come back." He stopped. Recognition dawned slowly, like watching someone realize they'd stepped into quicksand. "Mr. Kang, we weren't expecting. If this is about territory—" Min Jae placed the briefcase on the card table, opened it. Stacks of cash, neatly banded. $60,000, Amara Okafor's debt, paid in full. Jung's eyes darted to the money, then back to Min Jae. "We didn't know she was connected to you. If we'd known, now you do." Min Jae's hand rested casually on his gun, not theatrical, promise. "You'll return her passport. You'll delete every record of her debt. You'll never contact her again. You'll never speak her name again." "Of course, Mr. Kang. Absolutely. Just a misunderstanding." Min Jae leaned forward, voice dropping to something that made Amara's blood freeze even through the car windows. "If I hear her name from your organization again, if she receives a single phone call, a single message, a single moment of fear, I'll burn this warehouse with everyone inside. Your families will mourn closed casket funerals. Your operations will vanish like they never existed. Do we have an understanding?" Jung's hand trembled as he retrieved Amara's Nigerian passport from a locked safe. Paperwork was signed with jerky movements, witnessed by men who suddenly couldn't meet anyone's eyes. The entire transaction took less than 10 minutes. Violence achieved more than negotiation ever could. Min Jae returned to the Mercedes, sliding into the seat beside her. He handed her the passport without a word. Amara clutched it like a holy relic, staring at her own photo from 3 years ago, younger, hopeful, believing in simple plans and linear futures. "How much do I owe you?" Her voice barely functioned. "Nothing." "I don't accept charity." His eyes met hers in the dim car, dark and intense, reflecting streetlights like a wolf's. "It's not charity, it's protection." "I didn't ask to be protected." "You didn't have to ask, because you matter in my world now." The finality in those words should have terrified her. The possessiveness, the presumption, the way he'd rearranged her life without permission. But exhaustion and gratitude and something far more dangerous tangled together, leaving her speechless as Seoul's darkness swallowed them whole. Min Jae's penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of Gangnam's most exclusive tower, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering expanse, minimalist luxury that whispered rather than shouted wealth. Within hours, it transformed into a war room. Laptops covered every surface, phones rang constantly, men and women materialized like ghosts answering a summoning. Amara watched, stunned, as Min Jae orchestrated an international operation with surgical precision. Lee So-yeon, his strategist, contacted a Lagos law firm specializing in wrongful convictions. Park Han-wool, tech specialist, hacked into Nigerian police databases, downloading case files that should have been inaccessible. Calls were made in Korean, English, Igbo, Yoruba. Min Jae switching languages like weapons, each conversation ending with obedience. "We have a video call set up," So-yeon announced. "5 minutes with your brother. Prison officials have been persuaded." The laptop screen flickered. Then Chidi's face appeared, young, terrified, trying desperately to be brave. Amara's composure shattered. "Chidi! Oh God, Chidi!" "Amara?" His voice cracked. "They said someone important wanted to help. I don't understand." "You don't need to understand." Min Jae stepped into frame, voice firm but not unkind. "I'm Kang Min Jae. Your sister works for me. I'm sending lawyers, the best in Nigeria. They'll be there tomorrow morning." "Sir, I can't afford." "You're not paying. I am." Min Jae's tone left no room for argument. "Tell them everything, every detail about that night. We'll find the truth." Over the next 72 hours, the truth emerged like a body rising from deep water. Han-wool's investigation revealed everything. Police had framed Chidi to protect the real killer, a politician's son. Witnesses had been threatened to silence. Evidence had been fabricated. The entire case was constructed on corruption and convenience. Min Jae arranged for Adebayo Okonkwo, Nigeria's most feared defense attorney, to take the case. Money changed hands, not bribes to convict, but payments to delay execution, to allow appeals, to buy time for justice. Within 5 days, new evidence was submitted, the real killer's DNA found at the scene. 3 witnesses came forward, suddenly brave enough to tell the truth when their families received anonymous protection and financial security. On the 6th evening, Amara stood in Min Jae's kitchen, overwhelmed. He disappeared for an hour and returned with Korean barbecue and Nigerian jollof rice, suya, plantains, food from her childhood that shouldn't exist in a Seoul penthouse at midnight. "How did you—" "He knows a place in Itaewon, Nigerian community. He set the containers on the marble counter. You haven't eaten properly in days." They sat together, the city sprawling below them, sharing food that represented worlds that shouldn't intersect. Amara picked at the jollof rice, each bite an act of will. "Why are you doing this?" The question finally escaped. "You don't know me, not really." Min Jae was quiet for a long moment. 8 months ago, you interviewed for the waitress position. You said something I couldn't forget." His eyes met hers. "You said, 'I move through the world carefully because I've learned that visibility can be dangerous, but silence doesn't mean absence. You move through my restaurant like water, present, essential, powerful in your restraint. I needed to know why you carry such weight with such grace." Something unspoken and dangerous crackled between them. The city lights seemed too bright suddenly, the air too thin. Amara felt it in her chest, the recognition that they'd crossed invisible boundaries, that whatever existed between them had evolved beyond employer and employee into something neither could name. "Thank you," she whispered. "I mean it." He nodded once, understanding everything she couldn't say. The gratitude, the fear, the way he'd become essential to her survival in ways that terrified her. "Finish your food," he said quietly, "then rest. I won't let anything happen to your brother. I promise you that." Day 5 brought cautious hope. Chidi's appeal had been filed with Nigeria's Court of Appeal. New evidence, DNA proof, witness testimonies, documentation of police corruption made the case for immediate release compelling. Adebayo Okonkwo was cautiously optimistic. "We should have a ruling within the week. The evidence is overwhelming." Amara had allowed herself to breathe for the first time in days. She'd stepped out to the penthouse balcony, needing air, needing to process the impossible fact that her brother might actually survive this. When she returned inside, Min Jae stood in the living room, phone pressed to his ear, every muscle in his body coiled tight. His expression was cold rage, barely contained. The businessman veneer evaporated completely, leaving only the gangster, lethal and calculating. He ended the call, turned to face her. Something in his eyes made her blood freeze. "What happened?" "Sit down." "Min Jae, what?" "Sit down!" Command, not request. Her legs obeyed before her mind caught up. He pulled out his tablet, turned the screen toward her. Video message, timestamp from 20 minutes ago. But that was impossible. She'd been here 20 minutes ago, hadn't she? The video showed Amara, bound to a chair in an unfamiliar room, concrete walls, harsh fluorescent lighting. Her face was bruised, lip split, but her eyes blazed with defiance. The camera panned to show 3 armed men standing behind her. Amara's present self watched her captured self, mind fracturing. "That's not... I'm right here. How..." "They took you from the apartment 15 minutes ago while you were on the balcony." Min Jae's voice was clinical, which somehow made it worse. "I was in my office. They were professionals, in and out in 90 seconds. A voice spoke over the video, accented Korean. "Kang Min Jae, this is Lee Sang-woo. The red circle sends greetings." The camera focused on Amara's face, showing the fear she was trying desperately to hide. "You have something we want. Your territory in Gangnam, Itaewon, and Hongdae. We now have something you want. Your choice is simple. Sign over the territory or she dies in 48 hours. We'll be in touch with transfer details." The video ended. The tablet screen went black, reflecting Amara's horrified face. "This is my fault. I brought this to you. I should have stayed invisible." "Stop." Min Jae crouched before her, hands gripping her shoulders. "This is on them, not you." "Let me trade myself. They want leverage. I'll give them..." "No." The word was absolute, terrifying in its finality. Within 30 minutes, his team assembled. Lee So-yeon arrived with tactical layouts of every Red Circle property in Seoul. Park Han-wool brought encrypted communications equipment and hacking tools. Kim Dae-hyun, enforcement specialist built like a concrete wall, came armed and ready for war. "The Red Circle has been testing boundaries for months," So-yeon explained, spreading maps across the dining table. "Sang-woo's been waiting for an opening." "He thought he found one," Min Jae said quietly, studying the layouts with predatory focus. "He was wrong." "What's the play?" Dae-hyun asked. Min Jae's smile was dark, dangerous, promised violence that made even his own team shift uncomfortably. "They took the wrong person. They thought they were taking leverage. They took the woman who matters more to me than territory, more than peace, more than my own life." He looked up, eyes blazing. "We don't negotiate with the Red Circle. We dismantle them completely." So-yeon nodded, already strategizing. "First strike? Their gambling operation in Gangbuk, tonight. Make it loud, make it expensive. Make sure Sang-woo knows exactly what happens when he touches what's mine." The war had begun. 24 hours in, the Red Circle's primary gambling operation in Gangbuk erupted in coordinated chaos. Min Jae's team hit at 2 a.m., masked, armed, overwhelming. $3 million in cash seized before police arrived, conveniently delayed by well-placed calls. Security footage mysteriously corrupted. By dawn, the money was distributed to 6 different accounts across 3 countries, untraceable and gone. Message delivered to Lee Sang-woo's phone with a single line: "You took something of mine." 30 hours in, Lee Sang-woo's nephew, lieutenant in the Red Circle, heir apparent to the organization, was found zip-tied outside Seoul Metropolitan Police Headquarters. Beside him, a USB drive containing 5 years of Red Circle operations, trafficking routes, money laundering schemes, bribed officials, murder-for-hire contracts. Federal prosecutors received anonymous packages before sunrise. The nephew was arrested on 17 charges before breakfast. 36 hours in, the Red Circle's weapons warehouse in Bucheon went up in flames. Not arson, controlled demolition executed with military precision at 4 a.m. when the facility was minimally staffed. 2 guards escaped with minor injuries and stories of ghosts in black tactical gear. $7 million in illegal firearms reduced to molten metal and ash. Min Jae's empire mobilized across Seoul like a shadow army. Every favor owed, every alliance forged, every thread of influence pulled taut and weaponized. He moved through the war room with cold efficiency, orchestrating destruction with the same precision he'd once used to build his restaurant empire. Sleep was irrelevant. Food was mechanical. Everything narrowed to a single purpose: bring her home. In an industrial compound in Incheon, Amara sat bound to a metal chair, calculating survival. The room was concrete and cold, a single bulb overhead, 3 guards rotating shifts. They'd beaten her the first day, testing her, trying to break her spirit. She'd refused to scream, refused to beg. Her silence infuriated them more than tears would have. One guard was different, younger, uncomfortable with the violence. Park Ji-ho, she'd heard the others call him, new to the Red Circle, clearly questioning his choices. She worked on him carefully, cautiously. "You don't seem like them," she said quietly during his watch. "The others enjoy this." He didn't respond, but his jaw tightened. "My brother was framed by corrupt police, 19 years old, facing execution for something he didn't do. Min Jae helped me save him. That's why your boss thinks I matter." "Your leverage," Ji-ho muttered. "That's all." "Is that all you are? Leverage in someone else's war?" The question hung between them like a blade. In the penthouse war room, Park Han-wool looked up from his laptop, eyes bright with victory. "I've got her. Incheon, Industrial District. Triangulated her location from cellular tower pings and thermal imaging. Red Circle compound, former textile factory, 12 hostels, maybe 15. 1 heat signature in the basement, matching her profile." So-yeon immediately began tactical planning. 2 entry points, possibly 3 if we breach the north wall. We'll need— "I'm going in," Min Jae interrupted. The room fell silent. Dae-hyun spoke carefully. "You haven't led a field operation in 5 years. Sir, let us handle this." "No." Min Jae's voice was absolute. "She's not leverage. She's not a business asset. She's everything." He looked at his team, people who'd followed him through hell, who'd built an empire on calculated violence and cold strategy. "I need you to understand that. She's everything. I go in first." So-yeon nodded slowly, understanding the shift. This wasn't business anymore. This was personal, primal, the kind of warfare that ended with bodies or devotion. "Then we plan for extraction and elimination," she said quietly. 42 hours since capture. We move at 1:47 a.m., and we burn that compound to the ground. The Red Circle compound squatted in Incheon's industrial wasteland at 1:47 a.m., a former textile factory surrounded by razor wire and the ghosts of legitimate enterprise. Min Jae's team moved like surgical instruments. 8 points of entry, synchronized breach, overwhelming force designed to shock and paralyze. Min Jae led Team Alpha through the east entrance, the first time he'd personally led a field operation in 5 years. He wore tactical black, weapon drawn, every instinct from his younger, more violent life resurging like muscle memory. Daehyun flanked his right, Soyeon his left, both moving with military precision. Inside, Red Circle guards were caught catastrophically off guard. Muzzle flashes illuminated concrete corridors, shouted Korean and panicked footsteps. The assault lasted 90 seconds before resistance crumbled completely. Outgunned, outmaneuvered, their supposed safe house compromised and conquered. "Basement clear," Han-Wool's voice crackled through comms. "Package located. She's alive." Min-jae descended the stairs 3 at a time. The basement was exactly as thermal imaging showed. Concrete tomb lit by a single bulb, metal chair bolted to the floor. Amara sat bound, face bruised and swollen, lips split, but her eyes blazed with unbroken defiance when she saw him. "Min-jae!" His name on her lips, relief and disbelief warring in her expression. He cut her restraints with quick, efficient movements, hands gentle despite the violence still singing through his veins. "I've got you. You're safe now." "Sang-woo's in the office upstairs," Daehyun reported through comms, trying to escape through the north exit. "Intercept him. Bring him to the main floor. I want him to see this." 5 minutes later, Lee Sang-woo was dragged into the factory's open floor. Mid-40s, expensive suit now torn, face bloodied from Daehyun's interception. His surviving men knelt zip-tied against the wall, forced to witness. Min-jae stood over him, Amara safely behind him with Soyeon. The businessman was gone completely. Only the monster remained. "You used an innocent woman to get to me," Min-jae said quietly, voice carrying in the cavernous space. "You thought she was leverage, a playing piece in the game we all play." "It's just business," Sang-woo gasped, trying desperately to find footing in familiar territory. "Territory, power, the game." "She's not part of the game." Min-jae crouched down, meeting his eyes with something beyond rage, beyond calculation. "She's the reason I'm ending you. She's the reason your organization dies tonight, because you don't touch what matters to me and survive." What followed was brutal and efficient. Min-jae didn't torture. This wasn't about extracting information or sending elaborate messages. This was about consequences delivered with surgical precision. 3 shots, swift, final. Lee Sang-woo's body crumpled, and the remaining Red Circle members understood instantly that mercy wasn't an option they'd be granted either. "Anyone who survives tonight carries a message," Min-jae announced to the terrified survivors. "The Red Circle is finished. Your accounts are frozen, your operations exposed, your leadership dead. Scatter, disappear. Pray I never hear your names again." He turned back to Amara, and the monster receded slightly. She stood there, witnessing everything, the violence, the execution, the man he truly was beneath civilization's veneer. She should be terrified. Every instinct should scream danger. She wasn't running. Min-jae carried her out himself, cradling her beaten body with shocking gentleness. His burgundy suit, the one he'd worn that first night, was now stained with blood and concrete dust. In the Mercedes, racing through Incheon's pre-dawn darkness, Amara reached across the space between them and took his bloodied hand. She threaded her fingers through his, ignoring the split knuckles, the evidence of brutality. "Thank you," she whispered. Min-jae stared at their joined hands like he'd never seen anything more impossible. "I'd do it again. I'd do worse." She believed him, and that belief felt like falling. If you're not subscribed, you're gambling, because when another interesting story like this drops, subscribers get first access. Non-subscribers, you'll see everyone talking about it and have no idea what happened. Hit subscribe right now or spend next week on the outside looking in. Your choice. Choose wrong and you'll regret it. And don't forget to tell us where you're watching and exactly what time are you watching this video. So, what's gonna be? Dawn bled through the safe house windows in shades of pink and gold, beautiful and indifferent. The Gangnam apartment was smaller than Min-jae's penthouse, designed for emergencies and discretion. He'd brought Amara here instead of the hospital. Too many questions, too much exposure while the red circle's remnants still scattered. He worked in silence, cleaning the cut on her lip with careful precision, checking her ribs for fractures, applying antiseptic to the bruises blooming across her dark skin. His hands were steady, gentle, completely at odds with what those same hands had done 2 hours ago. Amara sat motionless, processing. The adrenaline had faded, leaving her hollowed out and hyper-aware. She'd watched through the factory floor chaos as Min Jae executed Lee Sang-woo. No hesitation, no remorse, just cold, efficient violence delivered like a business transaction. "I watched you kill someone for me," she finally said, voice flat. Min Jae's hand stilled on her wrist. "Yes. 3 shots, close range. You didn't even flinch." "No." He met her eyes, unflinching. "I'd do it again. I'd do worse." She should be horrified, should be planning escape routes, calling embassies, running from the monster in designer clothes who just dismantled an entire criminal organization for her. Instead, her hand lifted, trembling, and touched his face. Her fingers traced the line of his jaw, the tension coiled there. "I should be terrified of you," she whispered. His eyes closed briefly, like her touch caused physical pain. "Are you?" "No." The admission fell between them like a confession. "I see you, not just what you did tonight. I see the man who asked what was wrong when he could have ignored me. The man who learned Igbo because his waitress spoke it during breaks. The man who saved my brother before I ever asked." Her thumb brushed his cheekbone. "I see you, Min Jae, all of you." Something in him broke. The control he'd maintained for 8 months, watching her move through his restaurant, wanting her, denying himself, shattered completely. He pulled her against him, one hand sliding into her hair, the other wrapping around her waist as his mouth crashed into hers. The kiss was desperate, claiming, months of careful distance igniting into something volcanic and inevitable. She kissed back with equal fervor, hands fisting in his blood-stained shirt, pulling him closer, erasing every remaining inch of space between them. No hesitation, no fear, just hunger and recognition and relief. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "I don't know when it started," he confessed raggedly. "Maybe the first day you corrected the kitchen staff's Nigerian jollof rice recipe. Maybe when you smiled at that child in the restaurant who was terrified of me. Maybe the first moment I saw you. But I love you, Amara. I love you beyond reason." Her tears came silently, streaming down her bruised face. "I love you too. God help me, I love you." His phone rang, shattering the moment. Min Jae pulled back, checking the screen. "It's Adebayo." She nodded. He answered, switching to speaker. "Mr. Kang, Miss Okafor," the lawyer's voice was jubilant. "The Court of Appeal has overturned Chidi's conviction. New evidence proved his innocence conclusively. The real killer has been arrested. Chidi is being released within the hour. He's free." Amara's throb was pure relief, joy mixing with exhaustion and trauma and love. Min Jae pulled her close, letting her break against his chest when the call ended. "What do we do now?" she whispered against his shirt when the call ended. His arms tightened around her. "We bring your brother here. We build something real. We figure it out together." "Together," she repeated, the word tasting like promise and future and choice. "Together," he confirmed. "Always." 2 years later, the Seoul Business Awards ceremony glittered with champagne and ambition in the Grand Hyatt's ballroom. Kang Min-jae stood at the podium in an immaculate black suit, accepting the Hospitality Innovation Award for his restaurant empire. Now fully legitimate, every shadow operation dissolved or transformed into legal ventures. Beside him, Amara Okafor wore an elegant white gown with Nigerian aso-oke fabric woven into the bodice, her natural hair styled in intricate braids adorned with subtle gold accessories. Visual callback, black and white, Korean and Nigerian, force and grace. But now equals, partners in every sense. "This success belongs to both of us," Min-jae said into the microphone, switching seamlessly between Korean and English. "My wife revolutionized our menu, our approach, our entire philosophy. We don't just serve food, we create fusion, connection, belonging." The audience applauded. They saw a power couple, a business success story. They didn't know the violence that birthed this transformation, the blood that paved the road to legitimacy. Backstory unfolded in memory as they descended from the stage. Chidi's arrival in Seoul 18 months ago, shell-shocked but free, embracing his sister at Incheon Airport with tears neither could control. Min-jae had arranged everything: student visa, enrollment in Seoul National University's law program, an apartment near their home. Watching Amara's joy as she introduced them properly had felt like witnessing salvation. Their flagship restaurant, Fusion Seoul, served Korean-Nigerian cuisine that shouldn't work, but did. Jollof rice with kimchi, suya-spiced Korean barbecue, plantain pancakes with gochujang honey. Critics called it revolutionary. Min-jae called it home. Amara had designed every menu item, negotiated with suppliers, earned respect from chefs who initially dismissed her. She'd proven herself sharper than most people in any room. The wedding had been 2 ceremonies in one weekend. Traditional Korean pyebaek, Amara in hanbok, serving tea to Min-jae's family, bowing with grace that honored his culture. Then Nigerian celebration, Min-jae in agbada, dancing to Afrobeats, his Korean family bewildered but game, as Amara's relatives taught them the steps. 2 worlds merged, messy and beautiful and real. Their penthouse had transformed. Igbo wooden sculptures stood beside Korean celadon pottery. Calligraphy scrolls shared wall space with vibrant African textiles. The fusion wasn't decorative, it was intentional, daily negotiation of 2 cultures creating something entirely new. Later that evening, back home, Amara kicked off her heels and initiated a video call. The screen flickered. Then her mother appeared, Ngozi Okafor, 63, healthy and vibrant, living comfortably in Lagos with the money Amara and Min-jae had sent to renovate her home completely. "My daughter, the award winner!" Ngozi's joy transcended the screen. "And my son-in-law looking so handsome." "Mama," Amara's voice softened with affection. "When are you visiting? Chidi keeps asking." "Next month, I promise. I want to see this restaurant everyone talks about." And Ngozi's smile turned sly. "I want to know when I'm getting grandchildren." Min-jae laughed, the sound genuine and unguarded. "We're working on it, Mama." After the call, Min-jae pulled Amara onto the balcony overlooking Seoul's glittering expanse, the city that witnessed their violence, their transformation, their choice to build something better. "Do you ever miss it?" he asked, quietly. "Your old life, before everything got complicated?" She considered carefully, honestly. "Every single day." He flinched, old wound reopening. She turned, framing his face with her hands. "I miss the simplicity of being invisible. I miss not worrying about your past catching up. I miss not navigating two cultures, two languages, building an empire while maintaining my own identity. Her eyes held his, fierce and certain, but I wouldn't change it. Being visible with you is better than being safe and invisible. Our complicated is better than my simple, because you saw me when I needed to be seen. You loved me when I couldn't accept protection. You're sure? Vulnerable question from a powerful man. Every day I choose this. I choose you. That's not obligation, Min-jae. That's love. Fusion Seoul occupied the top floor of a Han River high-rise, floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of Seoul's endless lights reflecting on dark water. The last guests had departed, staff cleaning quietly in the background, leaving Min-jae and Amara alone on the restaurant floor they'd built together. She stood by the window, still in her award ceremony gown, watching the city breathe. He approached from behind, arms encircling her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. They fit together now like pieces that had been carved specifically for this configuration. "Do you regret it?" His voice was quiet, vulnerable in a way only she ever witnessed. "The visibility? The danger I brought into your life?" Amara was silent for a moment, choosing honesty over comfort. "Every day I remember the fear, waking up in that red circle basement, not knowing if I'd see daylight again, watching you kill someone, realizing the man I love is capable of that violence." She turned in his arms, meeting his eyes. "Every day I remember what it cost to be seen by you." His expression shuddered, preparing for rejection even after 2 years. "But I wouldn't change it," she continued, hands coming up to frame his face. "Being seen by you, really seen, not as a waitress or an immigrant or someone to be saved, but as myself, complete and complicated. That's better than being safe and invisible. That's better than surviving in the shadows." "Even knowing what I am?" The question carried weight, years of self-loathing and acceptance warring in 4 words. "What I've done?" "Especially knowing what you are." Her thumbs traced his cheekbones. "You're a man who built an empire on violence and then chose to transform it into something legitimate. You're someone who learned my language to understand me better. You saved my brother, dismantled a trafficking ring, went to war for me, not because you wanted to own me, but because you saw my humanity when I'd made myself invisible." She pulled him closer, voices dropping to intimacy. "And you're someone who chooses every single day to be better than what you were. That's not weakness, Min-jae. That's the bravest thing I've ever witnessed." "You're certain?" His forehead rested against hers. "After everything?" "Every day I choose you. Every morning I wake up beside you. Every decision we make about the restaurants. Every time we navigate your culture and mine. Every moment we build this impossible life together. That's not obligation or gratitude or trauma bonding." Her voice was steady, absolute. "That's love. Real, complicated, daily choice love." He kissed her then, soft, reverent, nothing like that first desperate kiss born of violence and confession. This was certainty. This was home. This was 2 people who'd seen each other's darkness and chose the light they created together. Behind them, hanging in the restaurant office visible through glass walls, 2 items of clothing remained from their old lives. His burgundy suit jacket from that first night when he'd asked what was wrong, and her simple black waitress uniform she'd worn for 8 months of invisible survival. Beside them now hung Nigerian wrapper fabric and Korean silk, symbols of everything they'd become. Not a rescue, not a fairy tale where the powerful man saved the helpless woman. Something better, more honest, more real, mutual recognition. Two people who saw each other completely, violence and grace, power and vulnerability, monster and human, and chose each other anyway. Every single day. They chose each other. And that choice, repeated daily across cultural divides and impossible odds, was the truest form of love either had ever known. Recognition.